Hi guys, I'm Zoe Caldwell and I'm going to give you a quick basic training on how to use Lexis for research. Okay, so you guys know what happens when you see a big search box, right? It's a lot like Google. You just type in what you're looking for. You can either type in a citation like this, or I can type in a statute, and Lexis will find it. I can also type in the name of a source that I'm looking for and go directly to that source. This is a unique source called The Art of Advocacy. I like to show it to one else because there are two sections here that you might like. One is called the written argument, where it breaks down the functions of legal writing really nicely. And below that, you'll see the oral argument, where it breaks down the functions of oral arguments and gives you tips on how to make great oral arguments. So this book is called The Art of Advocacy. And all I did to get here was I started to type in the name and Lexis found it and I selected it and I came into the source. I'm going to run a search right now. Copyright, fair use, parody, satire. I typed in some terms and just like Google, Lexis is going to give me results from all of our databases where these terms are listed. Now, my results are going to come back in relevance order. And because I didn't put any connectors between each of my terms, then Lexis will try to find my terms mentioned as many times as possible, but not each of my terms may be in each result set. So just like Google, I'm going to find some of my results that don't have the words parody and satire in them. If I want to force Lexis to have all of my terms in, then I have to do something like this. I type in copyright and fair use and parody or satire. If I want to quote phrases, I can, and that'll stick my phrase together so Lexis knows that that's an actual phrase. You'll see when I need the word or, I just type it in. So I could say parody or satire or humor or funny. I'm going to show you one more connector, and that's this one. /P. It stands for same paragraph. So I'm looking for copyright, fair use in the same paragraph as parody or satire. Now I'm making sure that my terms, copyright and fair use, must be in my result set, and fair use must be in the same paragraph with parody or satire. If I want everything in the same paragraph, then I can change this one as well. And now all of the terms must be in the same paragraph. And I'm going to run my search. You'll see that my result set pops up where these are my departments. I have cases, statutes, secondary materials, and other departments listed here where my terms can be found. Let's first go to secondary materials. When I'm here in secondary materials, I'm looking for the category treatises. That's my number one go-to. Treatises are commentary on the law by the experts. I also might want to take a look at jurisprudence. When in law school, jurisprudence are your AmJurs and ALRs. They're like the encyclopedias of law. Jurisprudence and treatises are heavily used in law school by students. In the real world, they usually select treatises first. I also may select my jurisdiction. Now, when I put in my jurisdiction, I'm asking for only sources that talk about this state's jurisdictional law. So when I apply California, I now want California law on copyright and fair use. For the state of Hawaii, you'll see that the state of Hawaii does not come up in this list. And that's okay. It just means we don't have any source books from Hawaii law specifically. So then I want to go to non-jurisdictional. This will eliminate all other state law and only pull up the source books that talk about law in general from all the 50 states, and of course, touch on Hawaii law as well. From here, I like to scroll down and look at my sources. Now I can start to see the names of the resources that are populating in my result set. So I can select and say, you know what? I've used music and copyright before, and it's been really helpful. So I'm going to select that, and now I'm only viewing results from this particular secondary source. And now I can come on in to one of my results and read about music and copyright and fair use. I'm looking for terms of art that the court uses to discuss my terms. I'm looking for links to primary law, like this one. I'm looking for the elements that I need to prove, or the factors that contribute to my legal issue. And I want a good discussion of each of those factors and legal elements. When I find all that, I'm ready to move on. A good researcher pulls 2 to 3 secondary sources to discuss their topic before moving on to the next step. I also like to check out my table of contents to make sure I've viewed everything I need in this section of the book. And if I want to, I can move around and read another section as well. The next step is to take a look at statutes. So I'm going to go back to my original search and pull up the results for statutes. Of course, a very necessary component of statutory law is to narrow to my jurisdiction. Here, I'm going to make sure that I'm in federal law. I also want the category codes. These are the code sections, so I get rid of these bills, and I'm only focusing on written code. This is my federal statute for fair use, so I'm going to come on in. Once you're here in your statute, there's a few things you can do to find more resources. Of course, you're going to use the text of your statute to help you understand the law and how it's applied to your issue. But I also want the notes, and the easiest way to get there is to go to Notes and Decisions. Below are cases that help interpret the law that I'm looking at. From here, I might want to take a look at this section, fair use, and I'm going to be more specific and look at skits and plays. Now I can start to read more about how skits and plays have interpreted parody and fair use. And I've got the links to primary law so I can link out to find more cases. One way to use the statute to find more resources is to use the Notes and Decisions and find more cases that discuss your statute. Another way to use a statute to find more resources is to shepherdize that document. When I shepherdize a document, I am getting all the cases that cite to this statute. So that's a really nice body of research I can pull together when I shepherdize a statute. It's going to give me everything that's ever cited this code section, and I can narrow from there. This time, we're going to go take a look now at case law. I'm going to go back to my original result set. My cases are usually the first tab that populates when I run a search. I'll usually land on this view where my cases show up in the middle of the screen. I like to use these little search terms to help me see where my terms show up so I can better understand if this is a case that I may want to take a look at in more detail. I can actually go in and decide that I don't want to look at each of these colors, and I can change to only view certain colors if I want to. When I'm here in case law, the first thing I like to do is go to my Ravel view. Ravel view is going to give me a look like a map to the top 75 cases in my cite list. It's going to tell me which cases are more influential than other ones, so I won't miss those cases. I can immediately see that nearly all the cases in my cite list are citing the Campbell-Acuff-Rose case. If you look to where it says how to, and when I hover, it'll change to the name of the case, and I can see all of these cases are citing to Campbell. It might be a mistake if I fail to cite to Campbell, since so many cases are. I'm also going to want to take a look at this Berlin case. It looks like a lot of cases are citing to that case as well. The Campbell case is located here, so once I find that this is important, I may come on in. Here's the components of a case that you'll want for research. Of course, you're going to have this case summary at the top of all of your cases. It's like the back cover to a novel. You're going to read this first to see if this is a case you want to pay more attention to, just like you check out the back cover of a novel to see if you want to read that book. You're also going to want to check out the headnotes. These are the rules of law coming out of the case. We've just pulled them up top, so you can easily spot them. But if I want to find out where this headnote lies in the opinion, I just bounce down. And now I can start to read more about that particular rule and how it interacts with the facts of this case. So I can see if my facts are similar and if I want to also rely on this rule of law. Let's talk about blue booking for a second. Up at the top of every case, you'll see this button called Copy Citation. When I click it, I want to drop down to Standard for standard blue booking. I only want the official reporter checked, usually, and I apply. Down below, I'll have my case and the citation, which I can use in my memo assignments. When I'm actually inside the opinion, if I like this quote, I can highlight my quote, let go of my mouse, click Copy Advanced, and do the same steps one more time. Now I've got my quote and the pinpoint site, and I can copy, paste, and put that in my memo assignment. Let's talk about Shepard's for a second. Is this Campbell case good law? Well, I can see my Shepard's reports over on the right-hand side. It's giving me cautionary analysis on top as my most negative treatment. Cautionary analysis is okay. When you see yellow triangles, do not be afraid. It just means that there's cases out there that are citing Campbell that say the law in Campbell is fine, but their facts are different, so they're not going to rely on the Campbell case as precedent. But they are not saying the law is bad, so don't worry about yellow triangles. Green is great. This means there's 188 cases out there that are loving the law of Campbell. They're citing to it as positive treatment, and they're using this case as precedent. I can actually go out to my Shepard's report and use Campbell as a jumping off point to find more resources. Once I'm here, I'm going to want to make sure that I only have cases in my cite list from my jurisdiction, like the Ninth Circuit. I might also make sure that I'm catching cases from the Supreme Court or state law as well. I also want to check if my cases are reported. So I'm going to narrow down to the publication status reported cases. And from here, lastly, I want to enter some extra terms. Here's where I can type in terms like music or song. And now I'm finding the cases that cite Campbell from my jurisdiction that have my terms in it as well. I highly encourage you to use search within results all the time to make sure that you're staying focused to the terms that are most interesting to you. If I go back to my cite list and pull up cases, you'll see that search within results listed here as well. It's right up here on top. So now I'm looking at my cite list for copyright and fair use. And now I want to enter in some extra terms here. Now I'm combing through my cite list of cases to find the cases that have my terms in it. I want to make sure that I'm pulling some element that I need to prove and put it in the same paragraph as my terms. This is a little formula that I like to use to make sure that I'm finding good things. I use my element or my test in the same paragraph as a fact that I need to analogize to, and I run my search. If you have more questions about Shepard's making sure your cases are good law, or any legal research questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Also, just know on every screen you'll see these 3 dots, and from there you can link out to live chat support. On the main homepage for Lexis, not only will you find my information here, and you can always text me or email me, but down at the bottom of the screen, you'll find the 1-800 number, and they are 24/7 customer support for you there as well. Thanks for watching.